In order for the people to live like human beings, America must fall as an empire, and America is coming down. So when they put the Israeli flag
countries are doing really great
up to the American flag, what it means for many of us is that yes, you will fall just like that empire is going to fall. Can you imagine? Can you remember the problems that being in Vietnam had on the economy? Go back in your history, young people. Check out how much the Vietnam War hurt the American economy. Now you're talking about 3 countries, Afghanistan, Iraq, and then Iran, and then you want Syria? That's amazing. It's amazing stupidity, but then again, it's George Bush. You can never be surprised at what that idiot does. Matter of fact, before George Bush gets out of office, we should give George Bush a medal before we take him to jail. Because what George Bush did was that he united a lot of people. George Bush not only united a lot of people who should have been united, just like, for example, Malcolm El-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz always felt that African Americans should align themselves with the Muslim world. Go back and check out Malcolm's speeches in 64 and 65. He felt that black people should align themselves with the Muslim world. What did old stupid George Bush do? He made the Muslims black people. Because politically, every Muslim here, politically, you black. Yes, you are. Old George did that. And now it brought us together. And when we get together, we're a powerful combination. An extremely powerful combination. So George Bush is an idiot, but we should give him a medal. George Bush, in terms of his stupidity, has hurt the empire, has done irreparable damage to the empire. Irreparable damage to the empire. It'll take more than old Barack Obama to save this one, y'all. This bad boy here is now a victim of the momentum of history. American empire is going down just like other empires have gone down. And so you have to make preparations. So Joe and Jane's six-pack are going to realize that no, America is not number one. No, America is not supreme. No, America is not superior. And no, America is not the good guy. We're talking about the system. America is not the good guy. Can you imagine what type of trauma that is going to cause for the average American to come to that realization? We're not number one, we're not supreme, we are not superior, and we are not the good guys. Can you imagine the trauma that's going to cause them? But that's a perfect time for change. Change. Start thinking a different way. And so 2008, brothers and sisters, is a time in which we have to keep on moving. The imperialists are on the run. They're on the run in Latin America. They're on the run in the Muslim world. The Zionists are on the run. They're not used to these issues being dealt with to them. They're not used to people doing the things that they're doing. They're used to being able to frighten the people into submission. That by only saying calling them an anti-Semite, then you will be quiet. But they're on the run. They know they're losing. And I'm going to tell you this, in all due respect, when you see what is taking place in the world today, in terms of particularly how the apartheid state is being challenged, brothers and sisters, make no mistake, that's directly connected to the Islamic revival. Directly connected. Because when people saw the Muslims go against the Zionists, whether it was on the battlefield, whether it was in the courts, or anywhere else, they always saw that the Muslims would prevail, and the Muslims were not frightened. And don't think for a moment that that did not affect other people, non-Muslims, to get them to realize, to look at certain things and to speak up and to speak out. Don't you think for a moment, brothers and sisters, that this new energy, this new type of activism is in no way connected to the Islamic revival. And I know our non-Muslim friends, they got y'all thinking that this Islamic revival is something that you should fear. That's propaganda. The Islamic revival should only be feared by those who support imperialism, colonialism, racism, occupation. Those are the only ones who should fear the Islamic revival. Because when groups like Hamas and Hezbollah, and no, these are not terrorists, and you should go back in history and remind yourself that the ANC of Nelson Mandela, they were called terrorists by the United States government. You pick up on that? The United States government put the ANC, the African National Congress of Nelson Mandela, on the terrorist list. Because America and apartheid South Africa and apartheid Israel has got something in common. Yep. They went to a country that was not their own, saw an indigenous people, and tried to wipe those people out. So yeah, they got a lot in common. But just like South Africa had to go, and South Africa has to go through another revolution. It ain't over in South Africa. Just like South African apartheid had to go, so too, apartheid in Israel, it must go. And it's only a matter of time. And I want to say, I want to give a serious shout out to the Palestinian people. Because brothers and sisters, one of the reasons why the people are starting to look at the apartheid state for what it really is because the Palestinian people will not be broken. The Palestinian people will struggle and struggle and struggle, and they will not allow, by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will not allow themselves to become slaves. And you will notice people who've gone to visit the Palestinians. Some of the people who spoke here this week, the Palestinians, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has truly blessed them. Yes. I have not met one person, I don't care what color they were, I have not met one person who was able to go to the West Bank, to Gaza, who got with the Palestinian people and who did not come back totally changed for the better. When they saw how the Palestinian people were struggling, and they saw that in spite of their struggle, they could still be optimistic. They could still be hopeful. They could still be happy in spite of their struggle. I mean, they would not stop. They could still be hospitable. They would share, even though they have so little. The people who have gone there to visit them notice how hospitable they were. They shared everything they had. The brothers and sisters in Palestine are the stars of this ummah. They're the stars of the Muslim world. And they inspire us. And we should always continue to move, to go, to stand up, to stand strong. Even when the Zionists go to another level to try to shut us up, you go to a higher level than them, because they don't have the truth, and they know they don't have the truth. And so we have to stand up. We have to speak out. And it's not just on this issue of Zionism. You've got to connect the issue of Zionism with this whole issue of the war on terrorism. You've got to connect all these issues. Brothers and sisters, you do not want your country, this country, to go into a war with Iran. You don't want it. Israel wants this war, and they want the United States to fight this war for them. But they're not sending their boys, their sons and daughters to that war. They want the Americans to send their children to fight in that war in Iran. Don't go for that, because the next thing you know, you think the economy is hurting now. You think gas prices are high now. If this idiot decides to go into Iran before he gets out of office, you have seen nothing yet. And what you will see is the acceleration of the fall of the American Empire. Do you know that there are generals in the Pentagon who don't want this war? Do you know that there are generals, white generals in the Pentagon, who are angry over the influence that the Israelis have on American foreign policy? They don't want the war. Do you know that there are elements in the CIA who are angry at the influence of the Israelis in American foreign policy? Don't you remember that report that came out by the CIA, the NIE report, when they said that Iran stopped attempting to, they stopped attempting to make nuclear weapons 3 years ago? Don't you know what that was about? Don't you know that this idiot in the White House kept saying that Iran is trying to make nuclear weapons? Iran is trying to make nuclear weapons. Iran is trying to make nuclear weapons. And then the CIA comes out. The CIA comes out and says to Bush, you idiot, according to our intelligence, which is something that you don't have, if Iran stopped making nuclear weapons, stopped attempting to make nuclear weapons 3 years ago, that shows you that inside the administration there is conflict. And the neocons, the so-called neoconservative, Zionist Jews who are masquerading as right-wingers, right-wing conservatives, who the real conservatives don't like. They got angry at the CIA. Why would the CIA undermine President Bush like that? Because the CIA don't want no war in Iran. There are elements within the elite who are upset at Israel and upset at their influence, brothers and sisters. It's a new day. It's a different day. So all this has to be tied in to America and the so-called war on terrorism. Another 60s is coming. You must prepare. And for my Muslim